Father Donahue, Mr. Daly, and Ms. Jordan, thank you for the invitation to share in this evening and speak today. I was so humbled and thrilled when Mr. Daly asked me to speak, and I was sincerely disappointed when I woke up Thursday morning to a positive COVID test and realized that I would be unable to join you in person. I'm so grateful for Rafael Velez's ingenuity, flexibility, and willingness to adjust on the fly to make all of this possible. Most of you know me, or someone in my family. Mary Grace, Tim, Maureen, Bridget, Elizabeth, Paul, Nora, Daniel, Joe, Rachel, Anna, and Stephen. Now my parents, Tom and Carolyn, who are with you tonight, sent all 12 of us through St. Vincent's schools. Maloneys have been doing so since the early 1900s, coming to town from their ranch in Tamales. I started at St. Vincent Elementary School in the fall of 1977 and continued on to graduate from St. Vincent High School in 1989, much to the relief of certain faculty members. Looking back, the class of 1989 was a spirited class. We were bright, high-energy kids who must have presented a daunting challenge to the seasoned educators here at St. Vincent. My classmates are extraordinary people, going on to school at West Point, UC Berkeley, UCLA, USC, as scholars and Division I athletes. Today, they are Hollywood executives, community board members, captains of aircraft carriers, artists, academics, leaders in medicine, agriculture, government, and business. I had it in my stubborn head to try and do something different, and I struck out for the Midwest, attending college at the University of Notre Dame with a Navy ROTC scholarship in hand. This led me to 5 years of active duty service in the U.S. Navy, seeing the garden spots of the Western Pacific, from Mogadishu, Somalia, and Aqaba, Jordan, to Perth, Australia. After the Navy, I attended law school in Portland and began working as a prosecutor. Now, Portland, Oregon is a weird place, home to both Antifa on the left and Proud Boys on the right. Environmental activists find violent and funny ways sometimes to push their agendas, as do the constitutional cowboys who occupied a federal wildlife refuge for 41 days in 2016. Now, during the summer of 2020, there were over 100 nights of racial justice protests. The images of these protests are startling. Some depict anarchists trying to burn down an occupied jail. Others show what appear to be the entire city marching across the Burnside Bridge, where the whole crowd suddenly stopped and laid down on the bridge and for 9 minutes chanted, "I can't breathe." Their poignant demands for justice and change are heartrending and emotionally moving for me. So, how did St. Vincent's schools prepare me to sit across the table from murderers, child molesters, drug cartel operators, violent anarchists, and insurrectionists? It has been said that a prosecutor's most important attribute is their soul. And St. Vincent's School's great strength has always been laying the next generation's moral and ethical foundation. The educators here taught me a set of values and skills that I aspire to live up to each day. I would like to share with you these values and how they were personified by certain educators who formed the soul of my St. Vincent experience. Beginning with Carol Salzano, she taught us to learn enthusiastically right there in first grade. Her bright smile and sunny personality made learning easy. Students loved every day spent in her class, sitting on the floor, reading in groups, practicing our handwriting, or improving our math facts. Many of her former students went on to become teachers and cite Carol Salzano as their favorite teacher. I think of Mrs. Salzano when I need to learn a new skill or mentor young lawyers. She inspired curiosity and a desire to eagerly learn everything about everything. Her kindness and passion for reading set students on track for a lifetime of learning. Sue Keller taught me how to train and compete relentlessly. During my senior year, Coach started to customize track practices just for me, which usually meant my drills were 20% longer and harder than anyone else's. Although at the time, I thought her methods were designed to keep me from running my mouth. Everyone knows how tough and tireless Coach Keller is, but I saw a different side of Coach Keller at the state track meet my senior year when I surprised the field and finished with the 4th place medal in the high jump. She met me with a hug and tears in her eyes. She was so happy for me and proud of how all the work we had put in had paid off. Coach Keller instilled a drive that continues to propel me forward and always work hard and do my best. Mike O'Toole modeled how to seek knowledge with humility. Mr. O'Toole inspired me to study political science in college and later serve in government. His classes were always one of the highlights of my school day. He was so knowledgeable about such a surprisingly wide range of topics, yet projected an air of humility that made every subject accessible to his students. Today, Mr. O'Toole inspires me to learn deeply about issues so that I can be an effective advocate and humbly communicate that knowledge to others. Father Tom Diaz's joyful love. Father Tom taught religion with a smile. Sure, we worked through our catechisms and the doctrines of the Catholic faith, but we also learned how these ideas must be put into action to face modern ethical dilemmas. Always front and center were his unabiding faith and deep love for Jesus. He modeled how to find Jesus each day in loving one another. His example challenges me to love people who are, at times, really unlikable. I think of Father Tom when facing daily dilemmas at work. My job demands that I strive to hold people accountable for harms they do to other people, and my faith preaches a gospel of mercy and love. Father Tom's joyful love of everything and everyone is an important reminder that it's easy to love Jesus because He is in everyone we meet if we take the time to look. Lynette Williamson's persuasive kindness. It's no secret that I like to argue, especially in the academic sense of argument as a respectful exchange of ideas. I learned to love losing arguments to Mrs. Williamson. She would skillfully eviscerate my position with a piercing wit, a knowing smile, and a twinkle in her eyes. And yet, she made me feel smarter for having gone through the exercise. Mrs. Williamson emulated the persuasive power of kindness. Lynette Williamson graduated from St. Vincent High School in 1979. She returned here to teach from 1984 to 1991. In 2016, we lost Mrs. Williamson to ALS. Shortly before her death, she patiently tapped out an essay for Salon magazine using one thumb at a rate of about 3 words per minute. This essay, Dying with a Lifetime of Literature, explains how she was determined not to let her disease define her. She continued to eloquently express how teaching literature for 30 years helped her persevere through the challenges of her illness with dignity and coming to peace with her own death. Ever the educator, Mrs. Williamson's final words taught us all what it means to lead a life of service to others, how to remain hopeful even in the face of certain death, to be grateful for the good things in life, and how to prepare our souls for eternity. Together, these educators shaped the soul of my St. Vincent education, to learn enthusiastically, to compete relentlessly, to seek knowledge with humility, to love joyfully, to persuade with kindness, and to accept life's challenges with serene dignity and peaceful acceptance. These aspirational values are something we can all try to live out every day. And with your generosity this evening, we can make these values accessible to every child who seeks an education for their soul here at St. Vincent Schools. Thank you for the opportunity to share this time today. God bless St. Vincent Schools.